everybody, and welcome back to my channel. We're back with another episode of reading books with under 10,000 ratings. I'm going into a little bit of a reading slump, so I'm hoping this will bring us out. Just to recap, I'm going to give you all the books that are in today's pool, and we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this time. Instead of having Goodreads pick whichever one has the lowest ratings, we're going to use the random wheel of names to pick 3 books for us for this week. I'm going to pick all of them now so we know our TBR and we can kind of mood read through this, because I don't want to go into a slump. We're almost at the end of the year. I've reached my reading goal, yes, but I still have a lot of books that I want to get done this year. Let's go from the top, and this is according to my Goodreads. I'm just going to give you how many ratings they have and not how many reviews. So the first one we have here is Aspects, and this is by John M. Ford. This has 516 ratings. Then we have Sisters of Swords and Shadows, and this one has 1,506 ratings. The Light That Blinds Us by Andy Darcy Theo, and this one has 1,944 ratings. The next 2 are on my Kindle. So the first one here is A Cursed Sun by Day Lieto, and this has 3,187 ratings. Deadly Occupants by Mads Rafferty, and this has 3,372 ratings. An Inheritance of Magic by Benedict Jacka, 4,389 ratings. This one I recently added because I saw it on my shelf and I wasn't sure about the ratings because I hadn't added it to my want to read list, so I wasn't sure. So this is in the pool this time as well. So this is Tandem by Anna Jazab, and this has 4,982 ratings. An Ocean of Minutes by Thea Lim, 6,925 ratings. And lastly, we have Every Move You Make by C.L. Taylor, and this one has the most amount of ratings, which is 8,580. I do have a few more on the list that are not currently in my possession, but those are all the books that we're going to add today. When I filmed my previous segment of this video, I did notice as well that ratings did change by the time I had screen grabbed them and saved them in order to do my little things on the screen. But if they do change, just know that obviously every day people pick up books, so it can change. But this is just the ratings that I currently have read off on my Goodreads. So I've added in all the books. I don't know if you'll be able to see. I've added in all the books onto my wheel of names. It's just a random wheel, and I am going to screen record if I can find it. There we go. So I'm going to pick all 3 right now, just like I said earlier. So start recording. 3, 2, 1. So first book, let's see. I actually really wanted this. I'm not gonna lie. I have been in the mood for a thriller. You can stop clapping now. Thank you. I have been in the mood for a thriller, and I've been dying to pick up this book, but I've been saving it obviously for this video. I was thinking maybe I'd add it in like a Halloween video. We got this picked out. I might actually read this. I'm stuttering. I am so excited. I think I might read this first because I've been so curious to see what this book is about. It was on the sales rack, like I said previously in a haul video when I got this for my birthday. It was 159 Rand, and usually if things are on the sales rack, it's either obviously not selling well or they're going out of print. But C.L. Taylor, I really like her writing, like I said in a previous video, but I will repeat it now. I've read 2 books by her. One I didn't like, one I really liked. So we'll see. This might be the deciding factor where we keep reading her or I don't know. I like it. I liked the previous book so much. It was called The Guilty Couple. Absolutely loved it. So I'm so looking forward to this. It's also a large print, so it seems perfect. It seems perfect. I don't know what this is about, but I think 3 or 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 friends, they're kind of stalked or something. But once I get further into the book, I'll tell you what all the books are about. Let's go ahead and spin again. I've just left this running, so it's going to be a mission to edit it down because I always struggle to like sync up this footage that I'm filming with you alongside my screen grabs, but I'll try my best. But let's go ahead and spin again. Oh no, I didn't really want this one. Okay, so we have A Cursed Sun by Day Lieto. It's been on my Kindle for so long. I actually deleted it and then re-uploaded it because I had a problem with my Kindle. It's a fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, but I have not heard the best things about it. I think Emmy read it, like Emmy reads. She read it and didn't really enjoy it, so we'll have to wait and see. It is a Kindle Unlimited fantasy, which are literally you never know what you're gonna get. It's kind of hit or miss, so we'll have to wait and see, but at least we have a fantasy in the mix. So let's go ahead and pick the very last book. Okay, I was actually pretty excited for this book too, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you can hear me after above all those clappings, all those applause. The last book we have is An Ocean of Minutes by Thea Lin. I'm excited about this because it sounds like a bit of a genre bending story. It, I think, is sci-fi, but historical fiction and a romance, so not entirely sure. I remember reading the back and being very, very taken by it, but I don't love the cover. It's cute, but it's also dirty. Again, it has a nice size font, but I don't 100% know what the plot is about, which we will discuss, I guess, when we pick this book up. But that is our TBR for the week, or couple of weeks, depending how long it takes. I think I might start with Every Move You Make by C.L. Taylor. Everything else is up in the air. So let me get to page 100 of this book, and then I will let you guys know what the book is about and what we think. But I hope you guys are as excited as I am for this, because I just wanted to take the choice out of my hand. Good morning, guys. So I reached page 100. Actually only started it last night, quite late, at like 9 p.m. And then I just finished the last few pages with my hour reading this morning. These types of books really make my stomach turn firstly, and it makes me feel really uneasy and anxious, which I think is the intended purpose of these books. Last year, during my Halloween-a-thon, where I read thrillers throughout the month of October last year, I read a book called The Book of You. And that one, I think it was written by, I can't remember her name now, but I'll try and link the video up in the cards. That one had my skin crawling, and this is doing the same thing. I don't know why stalker stories affect me so badly, but it's so close to real life, and I watch so much true crime, and especially stalker things, they never end up well. This book follows 5 people who are in this forum that they all found on Reddit, because all of them have stalkers. So they've now made a WhatsApp group, and all of them communicate with each other about how things are going, what they're dealing with, and they try to help each other through it, like a support group. However, in the first chapter, or you could say it's the prologue, one of the female characters, Natalie, gets murdered by her stalker the night that he's released from prison. She's moved several times, she's moved jobs, and this one night he's released from prison. She gets the call, someone walks her to the train station. She turns around as she's about to board the train, and he's standing in the archway, and she can't imagine how he's jumped onto the train and tracked her when he's just gotten out of prison. But anyway, she ends up dying. So the rest of the people in this forum, who are Alex, Lucy, Bridget, and River, so there's 4 of them left. River is the only male character. All of them now are on high alert. During Natalie's funeral, which they all attend, someone delivers a wreath of flowers, and in it, it's got a date, which is 9 days from when the funeral was. So basically, we're following a countdown to see who this message was intended to, because there was no address to anyone. It just said a certain date. So all of them have now band together to try and stop this whole stalker situation. It's very anxiety inducing, as you can imagine, because one of the characters as well, she doesn't know her stalker. She doesn't know who it is. She's an actress, so he's come into like her dressing rooms. We don't know if it's a he or she, but they send lots of messages. They have followed her into a restaurant, taken pictures from like a few meters away, and she hasn't been able to identify him. River, which is the only male, he's being stalked by an ex-girlfriend, but we're kind of confused by his story because I feel like he alludes to a lot, so the women don't really trust him that much. Then we have Lucy, who's being stalked by an ex, and Bridget, who is the oldest out of the group. She's in her late 40s, early 50s, and we don't know why she has a stalker, but it is a female. So we're just following them through, going through this countdown and trying to figure out who their stalkers are, who the message was intended for, kind of what they're gonna do in order to alleviate the situation. Because if you watch any type of true crime, the law doesn't really protect people from stalking, because they can't do anything unless actual harm has been done. There is like cyber stalking and stuff where they can track and whatever, but there has to be a real threat. So police don't really take it seriously. So obviously these women don't really want to go to the police with this. River has gone to the police, but they cannot track this woman. Everything is just up in the air and we don't know what's going on. So it's very thrilling, and I love thrillers like that just keep you going. Like, I was going into a slump, and now I've I've already read 100 pages in like a few hours, but I have some time this morning to read. So I think I'm going to try and get to halfway through this book before I check in again, and I'll let you know what's happening or if anything has changed. This is very fast paced as well. There's no real lull. There are a little bit of descriptions that I feel like aren't necessary. Like one of the women was walking into a restaurant and she described everything from like the tiles to the fixtures, and I feel like that was unnecessary, but that was only one bit that I noticed. The rest of it has been very fast paced. Hi friends, my camera battery is about to die, so I just thought I'd do a quick check-in. I've now reached page 294, chapter 46, and I'm having a great time. I didn't expect to read this much. I read almost 200 pages today, which is a lot for me. I just kind of sat outside in the cold, cuddled up with a blanket and read. This book is thrilling. It is exciting. It is full of suspense, and I'm having the best time. I haven't read a book this quickly in the longest time. Sorry if I'm scrambled. I'm just watching the camera about to die and I haven't charged my other battery, so I'm going to try and get it all in now. I do feel though that there are a couple of plot holes in it, but at the same time, because it's so fast paced, you don't miss a lot of things. Only if you sit and think about it, you would pick up on them. But the pace I'm reading and the pace the story is moving at, it's not a huge thing, but it's just something that I've picked up on. We do have multiple POVs. We have the POV of every single person that is involved in this, and some people are really sus at the moment. I don't know if they're actually being stalked or if they are stalkers. It's very convoluted at the moment. Everyone, I finished it yesterday. I was planning to finish it in the morning, but then I just had so much to do, and it was a public holiday for us, so my sister and my niece came over, so I got busy and I ended up finishing it last night, but I definitely could have finished it the day before. But anyway, it was a very quick read. I absolutely loved this book. It seems weird to say that I liked it because of the content, but it was very realistic. I experienced every single emotion possible. I swear. I was anxious, I was angry, I was on the edge of my seat, I was relieved. I went through all the array of emotions with all the characters in the book. I absolutely felt like it was very realistic, even though, like I said, I felt there were a couple of plot holes, but it was fine because everything happened so quickly. There was a twist on a twist on a twist. I didn't expect that. I kind of thought I knew what was going on, but I kind of had an inkling of what was going on without having the whole spectrum of the ultimate plot twist. It was very twisty. I absolutely love this, and I can't believe that this has under 10,000 ratings, because go read this. Like I said, I did read The Book of You. I think her name was Claire Douglas. I really loved that book. It actually made me feel a little bit ill reading it. This wasn't that bad, but with the author's note at the back, she actually really experienced stalking. So she writes a bit about her own experiences and how that time it was dealt with a lot differently from how it is dealt with today. So she obviously changed some concepts of it, but it was based on her experiences. The group setting of it as well, it all spoke to how she dealt with it. Haley Fam's on my TV over there, I forgot. It was great. I'm going to give this a 4.5 star. Like I said, this has about just over 8,000 ratings, and I don't believe that it should. So I'm going to definitely go rate this and write my review. Then last night and this morning, I thought we'd just get started on the next book. I just felt like holding another book. so I ended up just going with this, and then we'll read the last book on my Kindle. But this is An Ocean of Minutes by Thea Lim, and like I said, this is kind of genre bending, so it has sci-fi elements, historical fiction, as well as romance. I am currently on page 54. This book doesn't really have like set out chapters, and the chapters that we are reading are really long. Like the first chapter is 28 pages, and the next one I have is about 26 pages. So it's very long, but the writing is really simple, and I'm actually finding myself flying through it. Right now, we're just doing a lot of world building and setting the scene about where we are currently. I can't say much about how I really feel about it, but that's just, it's easy to read so far. So we're following Polly, and she is, well, at the beginning of the book in 1980, and they have an outbreak of influenza. So it's basically eating through their population. The medications in order to combat it is so expensive that people can't really afford it, and her boyfriend at the time ends up getting this flu. They have this program called, what is it called? Safe Travel, I think? Can't really remember. I think it's called Safe Travel or Travel Air or something like that. And they send people to the future and then pay them in like money and healthcare for whatever they leave behind. So they can only go 12 years into the future, or the minimum they can go is 12 years in the future. So Polly decides to do this to save her boyfriend's life, and they come up with a plan to meet each other in 12 years time at this spot. But something goes wrong with her transportation, and she ends up going, instead of to 1993, she goes to 1998. So she has no idea where her family is, where her boyfriend is, what is going on. She's kind of really confused. I feel like they didn't get enough information before going on this program, and she's just ended up in 1998. She's confused. She has motion sickness. She obviously has been asleep for 12 years, so everything's still catching up with her, and she's just thrown into a situation that she wasn't sure that she needed to be in. It's all very convoluted and confusing at the moment because she doesn't even know what's going on, and neither do we. It's the sci-fi element is obviously time travel, and then the historical fiction is obviously being 1980, and it does have time jumps, jumping from the past in 1980 and all those years, and then going forward to 1998 now. This was written in 2018, so it was pre-pandemic as well as pre the Ministry of Time. I don't think any copying was done here. I haven't read the Ministry of Time, but that was released I think last year. So yeah, that's kind of what I got from this. I have no idea where it's gonna go, but I know she wants to find her husband. At the moment, she's been picked up for orientation, but she's not very smart, I guess, that's the word, or just not very savvy, because she's just been picked up for her orientation and needs to be taken to, like, you know, reacclimate into the time. But she just jumps onto a bus because everybody's getting onto a bus, and they're actually taking her to it's called a cycling plant, and we don't exactly know what a cycling plant is. And apparently they just got to get on bikes and kind of cycle, which could be for energy. I don't know, but it's all very confusing at the moment. Like I said, I'm only on page 54, so I don't have that much knowledge of where it's going, but I definitely will read some more and then come back to you guys probably around 50% and let you know. But so far it's not bad. I'm having an okay time. It's not difficult to read. I just feel like the world building is like a little bit boring, because where they are in 1998 now, the world has kind of fallen apart. So they're 12 years ahead, and it looks like it's 12 years behind. Everything's abandoned, taken over by foliage taken over by foliage. So it's very strange. So that's as far as I've gotten so far. I think I've spoken too much now and I'm going around in circles. But good morning, everyone. So I got to page 202, and it doesn't have chapters, but that's kind of what it looks like. There are some chapter headings, but it jumps like back in time where it will let you know, but otherwise there's no chapter names or numbers. I don't know how I feel about this book. It's so easy to read, and I'm finding myself being so consumed by the story. However, there's nothing really happening. The plot is not plotting at all. It's kind of just going through the motions of her experiences being in a new time zone. She's actually meant to be 40 years old, but because she's time traveled, she's only 23, and she's still trying to find her loved ones that she left behind. So it's kind of just going on this motion with her, trying to figure out the area she's in. She's only been there for a few months now, or a couple of months even, and it's just going through her day-to-day and what she's having to experience. What she was sold in the beginning is not actually what she's gotten right now, and she's basically living in squalor and as a slave to this society that is trying to build up a new infrastructure. So apparently back in 1993 they had obviously the pandemic in 1980, 1980, and then in 1993 they had a huge disaster and it wiped out a lot of areas, and they're trying to rebuild that now, and they're bringing people from 1980 or 1981 back to the future in order to work and rebuild infrastructure. I'm finding it consuming. Like I said, it is consuming me, and I'm kind of finding myself wanting to pick up the book, but there's no actual real plot. So the genre of this, it's speculative. I think that's what it's called, but it has time travel, dystopian, romance, and historical fiction, like I said, which is very, very interesting, especially because this was written pre-pandemic. So it's kind of ringing true with what we have going on now, obviously without time travel, but which we had going on in, I think, 2020, whenever the pandemic hit. So it's very, very interesting, but like I said, it's going nowhere. I'm starting to realize that I really like books that talk about environmental factors and how our behaviors now can affect the world in the future. I really, really love that. So The Vanishing Deep, absolutely love that, and it had a lot to do with environmental stuff as well. So I think that that's kind of one of the genres that I need to seek out and read more of. Oh, I didn't mention, America is now broken up as well. So there's certain areas of America which is called America, but there's some outlying states where the pandemic didn't hit, where they kind of closed it off, and now it's independent state, and it's called the United States. And then there's America where she is, which is in like Texas and some surrounding areas. The guy that she's looking for, her boyfriend, who she tried to save by doing this time travel, she can't find him because obviously this is 5 years later than she had expected. But she found out that he had kind of sought her out. In her search for him, she's kind of realized that he might still be around, but he might have gone home back to Buffalo, which is no longer in America. It's part of the United States. So she's asking people how to get to Buffalo and what she would have to do. But she still owes these people money. It's called Time Raiser. She still owes them money for her time travel costs. So she has like an allotted time that she needs to work for, which is like, at the moment, I think it's 32 months. And every time you buy something or make an exchange, it adds time to that counter. She's asking them how to get there, and they say it's only by boat. You can only travel by boat because there's no longer roads, there are no longer aircrafts because aircrafts carry disease and stuff. She's really confused, like, okay, well, what happened to the roads? This is what one of the other characters says. She says, "You hear this all the time from rookies. It's like you all think it's an easy thing to clean up a disaster. The pandemic was one thing, but consider the infrastructure. People just left. What happens when all the little people who keep the world running disappear? Roads, bridges, highways either flooded, exploded, or collapsed within 10 years. So all those people who left to time travel to save their lives left their jobs behind, and those little people who were seen as little low paid jobs, they just left their jobs, and what happened to the infrastructure? It crashed, which is the same thing that's kind of going on in today's world. Like all these people who are anti-immigration, what happens to all your infrastructure once those people leave? Are you wanting to go build a road, build a bridge? Are you wanting to take out the rubbish? Are you willing to study a degree in medicine and go be a doctor? Are you willing to do all those things and sacrifice all that time that these people for minimum wage are doing and expect the infrastructure to still last? Like, I just found that very, very touching at that point. So yeah, I'm having a good time. Like I said, there's nothing really going on. I'm curious to see if she does end up finding her loved ones, but it's been such an easy read. I basically read this in one day, so very proud of myself for doing that. I'm hoping to finish this today. It's supposed to be a really nice day today. The forecast is like 27 degrees Celsius, so I'm going to do my first hour of reading in my bed, go for a walk, and then come back and lie out in the sun and finish this book. So that is the plan, and I'll let you guys know once we finish it and move on to our last book. Everyone, I'm not centered, but ignore that. I thought I'd do a quick check-in. Today's Sunday, and I finally finished this yesterday. On Friday I was meant to finish it, but I just wasn't in the mood to actually finish it because I had to film and I wasn't in the mood to turn on the camera. So sorry for that, but I did finish this yesterday. I still don't know what my rating is going to be for this book. I did like it, but there were elements of the book that I didn't really enjoy. Like, I felt like it was like drawn out, and I've never read a book that was so stream of consciousness that it kind of threw me off a little bit. In the beginning, it was super interesting and I was enjoying the story. After getting to like page 250, almost page 300, I was like, can we move this along now? Because it's taking too long to get to the point. I kind of guessed the ending. I knew it would end up this way just from the beginning of the book. I knew this was going to happen. Just the way it was set up, I just knew. I just knew it. So I'm not sure. I did enjoy it. I'm not saying that I didn't. I really did enjoy it, but there were parts of it that dragged and were a bit boring for me. So I'm not sure. I think I'm sitting between a 3.5 and a 3.75. It's not quite a 4, but I definitely don't regret reading this, and I'm so glad that I did because it just opened my eyes to a different type of genre. And like I said, I do really like books about environmental destruction and mixed in with like a pandemic and in a dystopian setting. Like that's exactly what I like. I just feel like it was too drawn out. Like it could have happened a lot more. We could have added in a couple of other occurrences just to speed it up. But just being in our main character Polly's mind the whole time, I don't know, and the way she was thinking, like I know she had moved into the future and things had changed and her brain was really slow to catch up, but I feel like she didn't do her best to like do research and find out how things are different, why things are different, ask questions. Like I feel like she was just so in her own mind that she didn't embrace the opportunity that she was given. I don't want to bang on about her too much because I'm gonna go in circles, but yeah, I did like it. I really, while I was reading, I was in the story. I was very immersed in it, but I'm not entirely sure. So do stick around till the end of the video to find out my final rating of that. And then I'll pop a picture on the screen, A Cursed Sun, last night. I only read one chapter, and tell me why indie authors have the longest chapters. Like this chapter was like, I think 36 minutes long, and my next chapter is like 39 minutes long. Why are the chapters so long? And I feel like I didn't gain anything from reading that first chapter. I was just confused. It jumps straight into the smut in the very first chapter. So it's described as being very steamy. It is like a forbidden love. Let me just check the tropes. I looked it up last night, but I didn't fully retain that information. It says it is a fun, sexy, enemies to lovers, romantic fantasy for fans of fae, elemental magic, arranged marriage, forced proximity, snarky banter, and a dream connection. I still don't really understand what it's about. So I even read the blurb and I still don't know what it's about. So it just says that romantic and sexy dreams link a false princess to a dangerous, disgraced fae prince in this fun, steamy, enemies to lover romantasy. So apparently they somehow linked in their dreams, but I haven't gotten that far. I literally am on page 22. And you know how I always say, well, if you don't know, I always say this when I'm reading Kindle books. I hate it when one page equates to like 3 pages, because that must be a very, very tall book, because one page of this is now 3 pages. So like it's page 111, page 222, page 333, page 444. And it's like, why are we writing things like that? Like, I don't know. It's just something that irks me about some Kindle books, but it is an independent author. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm also not entirely in the mood for fantasy at the moment. So I don't know how it's going to go. And it's 444 pages and I've read 22. We'll go ahead and finish this. Hi guys, I thought I charged my battery, but for some reason it didn't charge. Anyway, I'm going to try and make this quick. I've made it to page 197 of A Cursed Sun. I think it is chapter 13. Like, how are we only on chapter 13 and we're almost halfway through the book? I've been thinking about what I want to say about this book, and I don't know. I cannot articulate what I think, but I can kind of compare it to Zodiac Academy. Like, the writing is super, super cringy. They're meant to be enemies to lovers, lovers, but neither of them actually really hate each other. So I'm very confused, very, very, very confused. But I'm gonna do my hour of morning reading. It's meant to be 30 degrees today. Summer's almost here. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna lie outside, do my hour of reading, and then I'll come back to you guys once my battery has a little bit more charge and try and get my thoughts together. But so far, I'm not hating it, but I'm not absolutely loving it either because the writing is so cringy. I have notes. I don't know if you can see it on my B-roll, but I have some notes there where I just put question marks or why, because I don't know why she uses the words that she does in a fantasy setting. Like, she calls his penis a man thingy, and I'm like, how old are you? Like, grow up. And she's supposed to be all tough and from this other world, and she's a different being, but she's acting very vapid, and it's really, really not sitting well with me. But other than that, the story is kind of easy to follow. It's easy to read, and I'm consuming it faster than I thought I would. But like I said, like Zodiac Academy, the writing's not great. It's not anything to write home about, but it's still addictive enough that you want to keep reading. Hi everyone, I'm back with an update. Yesterday, I actually managed to finish A Cursed Son. So I basically read this in 2 sittings, which is crazy because I wouldn't say it was the best book I ever read, but it was really intriguing. And like I said, well, I would compare the writing to Zodiac Academy. It's so cringe. It's not good in any sense of the word, but yet I was so addicted, and I just wanted to know what was happening. So fortunately, yesterday was a really warm day. So I sat in the sun all day and read until about, I want to say 5:30, and then I came inside, did some editing, and then I just wanted to read, which is not very common for me. I usually like to watch YouTube or watch a couple of episodes of a series that I'm watching before I start my nightly reading, but I couldn't stop and I finished it. So I think I'm going to settle on a 3.75, and I don't really think I explained what the book is about, but I don't really know if I can articulate it still. So we're following our main female character. Her name is Asta, and she has been hidden in the castle of this court called the Crystal Court. But then there's a neighboring court called the Crystal Court who are fae, and they have a disgraced prince called Marlak, and he has been disgraced because when he was very young, apparently he killed his family, which I'm not sure is true, but we never really touch on that. We're just following the two of them. They're like star-crossed lovers, and they kind of connected or linked by their dreams. She's been dreaming about him for ages, and this one day she gets sent out on this assignment because she's something called a substitute. So she basically stands in for the princess anytime she needs to go on something that's fairly dangerous. So there's 3 substitutes, and all of them look similar to the princess. So she gets sent out. Well, she doesn't get sent. She manipulates her way into an assignment, goes out, and they come across this disgraced prince, and they have an encounter, and it just kind of goes on from there. There's a marriage of convenience in it, but at the end, it's like so much happened. Like, not so much in the sense that it was full of adventure. There are some adventures, but like, I can't really pinpoint what really happened. Like, I read it and I was there present for it, and they go on like this little, I want to say adventure, but it wasn't adventure. It was just following like their day to day. They are meant to be enemies to lovers, but I didn't believe that they were enemies for 1 second. Not one conversation, not one thought showed me that they were enemies. They were probably meant to be enemies because of their political standings and all of that, but they didn't hate each other for sure. So I know that sounds all very convoluted, but that's kind of how I feel about the story. I did like it enough that I went to download the second book immediately afterwards because the cliffhanger at the end, why do people do that? It's so rude to leave us like that. That's kind of how I feel. I do feel that the book was too long. There were some bits where I was like, okay, can we get to the point now? It's slow burn, so very, very slow burn. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, but nothing really happens until like, I want to say 80% of the book. So very, very slow burn. Like I said, it is quite steamy, but it's all like in dream form or someone else. It's not the two main characters, but there is a lot of spice in it and like descriptions of it, but they don't physically touch each other yet. Is it worth being like as unpopular as it is? I wouldn't say unpopular, but it doesn't have too many ratings. No, I think there is a target audience for this. Would I recommend it? Yes. If you liked Zodiac Academy and you're not too worried about like too much writing or too much description, then you'll like this. Like if you loved Zodiac Academy, which is really simple and cringy, you'll absolutely love this. So I would recommend, and I don't think it deserves the low ratings that it has. So just to recap, before that we read An Ocean of Minutes, and I didn't give you guys my final rating, but I think I'm going to settle on a 3.75. I have been thinking about this book a lot. And like I said, there were bits that were just so drawn out, and I think I'm not used to like speculative writing, so I think that was what intrigued me. I was curious to see where it would go, but at the same time the story was kind of boring and mundane. I did like the parts where they mentioned like pandemics and stuff like this, and like I said, this was written in 2018, so this was pre our pandemic, but a lot of the things that happened was exactly the same way things happened when it happened to us. So things like that kept me engaged. I love the concept of time travel. I love environmental destruction and the bias people have on immigration, and I'm married to someone who's from a completely different country in a completely different continent, so I understand all that immigration and bias, and yeah, people just frowning upon it when you just want to be with the person you love, and it's not even for any malicious intent. It's not to steal jobs or whatever. So all of that in this book, it made it kind of relatable to me and my situations and what we've been through. So I would recommend, if you like more, I wouldn't say no plot, but just more of a character study and a situational study rather than an actual plot where we're heading towards. So I would recommend this. I think it was a good read. It's very informative. I thought that it was relevant. So definitely would recommend this as well. Again, not worth all the low ratings that I've seen. Firstly, we read Every Move You Make by C.L. Taylor. I gave this a 4.5. It's definitely the best book that I've read in here. Another one of C.L. Taylor's books that I really love. There is one over here called The Guilty Couple that I absolutely love as well and recommend all the time. Her thrillers are very, very fast paced. They keep you engaged from the beginning till the end. There wasn't a lull, but there were a few plot holes, if I say so myself. Even just her story at the end of the book where she told her little author's note of her experiences and stalking and how times have changed with stalking. And I love a stalking. I wouldn't say love. Love doesn't feel like the right word, but I really enjoy a stalking thriller because I feel like it's informative, and I feel like all women need to know this because anything can happen and you need to be prepared and know what to do and how to move forward from it, because you can feel so trapped and it can cause so much mental health damage. So I absolutely love this. I love the depiction. I love that we had multiple points of views all talking about their own experiences and what led them to this group of support. And you know, stalkers want to isolate you and make you feel alone, but they had this group that was just tooth and nail fighting for each other, which was really, really great to see. 100% recommend. If you like a more creepy, eerie thriller that gives you more of like a visceral reaction, I would recommend this, because a lot of the points I was feeling quite nauseous, because not because the content was disgusting, but just because it's so relatable, and at some point most people go through this. So very, very good reads this week. So 4.5 and 2 3.75s was absolutely amazing in my opinion. I don't think that the other books that I've read recently actually match up to this vibe of things. So really, really appreciate the fact that I didn't listen to the reviews or read the reviews, and even though they all had under 10,000 ratings, I still gave them a chance. This is your sign to go out and find some books that aren't, you know, the biggest rated or the most viral books. Just give something else a try. You never know what you could find. Give it a chance. Go to your bookshop, pick a book that, without looking at Goodreads, I think that would be the first step in the right direction. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I'm having fun filming this. My part 1 didn't do too great, but I'm pretty sure it was my thumbnail or maybe my description. I'm not sure. Let me know what you thought of that if you did see it, and what you think of this concept, because I think it's great, because we're getting to see more books. Because I'm going off on a tangent. I was ending this video. I watch a lot of book talkers and booktubers, and I'm getting so bored with all of them talking about the same book. Like at the moment, The Woman by Kristen Hanna, every single person is talking about it, it. So I already know the synopsis before they even talk about it. And I feel like they're having to explain it over and over and over, not knowing that I've watched about 15 people do exactly the same book and give the exact same synopsis. So it gets boring. So go out and try some other things. But that being said, again, thank you so much for watching. If you do decide to stick around, please remember to subscribe and click that little bell icon if you haven't already. And also give this video a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. But I'll see you all in my next one. Thanks again, guys. Bye.